pleasure to be here today, representing the port of Fujairah. Probably the first time I think we do so outside Fujairah, meaning into India. Perhaps many of you know the port, others maybe not. I will give you a general overview of the port and the latest developments, and also its relation with India, of course. Is the mic okay? It all started back in 1983, where the port was started to enable the growth of the emirate of Fujairah. As you might know, the UAE has 7 emirates. Fujairah is one of the smaller ones on the east coast. But at the end, it's also only 1 hour away from Dubai. The port went to various stages. It started mainly with container activities, and it was also for transshipments to India. I think that time in the 80s, when the Indian ports didn't have yet a deep draft, Fujairah was one of the ports where the break bulk was happening. Over time, it evolved in a bunker market industry, ship services, and that became a lot of investments in the liquid. So nowadays we are mainly known for being a very large liquid bulk port. We are basically among the big hubs in the world, among Singapore, Houston, and the Rotterdam Antwerp area. So Fujairah plays a major role. You can see on the slide the 3 elements what we focus on. We are a clear multi-purpose port, big footprint in liquid. Dry bulk is our second pillar. And on the container and general cargo, we signed a partnership with Abu Dhabi Ports. So under a concession agreement, they are taking care of the general cargo, containers, cruise ships, and ro-ro. I think the key of Fujairah's success and the growth over the years, you can maybe see on the map on the right side, is its location. Its strategic location outside the Strait of Hormuz has enabled it to grow, and they have capitalized by doing so. The port is a government entity, and they have been very investor-friendly and able to bring in the parties to develop this big ecosystem. This gives you an overview of the port. Again, on the right side, you can see again our footprint in the liquid side. You see storage terminals. These are mainly private companies, but also some national oil companies like ADNOC and ENOC are present. And they all have their connections to the port. I will come to that in more detail how they work. But as you basically can already see from this map, it is rather unique. Main terminals, oil liquid terminals around the world, imports have their own jetty infrastructure. In the case of Fujairah, we have taken care of that. So we have built the oil berths infrastructure via a manifold system. Again, I will come back to that in more detail. We do have our dry bulk. We also, a couple of years back, we established a small service harbor. Because Fujairah is not only known for its cargo handling, but we also have a very large anchorage. It's one of the biggest as well in the world. I think on an average day we have about 130, 150 vessels outside the port, waiting for order, getting services, the whole range. There are about 400 service companies based in Fujairah taking care of this market alone. And of course, bunkering is one of the main services. We are still top 3 in the world when it comes to that. About 8 million tons per annum of bunkering goes through. And the service harbor plays an important role. It's almost like a parking lot where all the ship handling, the launchers, the service company, the agents can have their vessel taking fresh water, electricity, and it's all well organized to cater for this market. This is just a snapshot of the tank farms, the refineries, and our jetties inside the port. We don't have large refineries in Fujairah, but we do have 3 small ones, altogether almost getting to 200,000 barrels per day. Again, contributing to the trade. The terminals in Fujairah are mainly serving for the trade and blending of commodities going through the region. So oil coming in is mainly from the Gulf, Iraq, Saudi, Bahrain, Kuwait. Those are the main countries that supplying into Fujairah. And then, of course, India as well from the Indian refineries. About 500,000 tons per month is coming in, mainly gasoline. And from here, it changed ownership, it's blended, it goes in smaller parcels to end markets like East Africa, Pakistan, but also long arbitrage straight into Singapore. From there, it goes to other countries in Southeast Asia. Maybe good to see as well on the pictures and on the backdrop, you see mountains. Some of you less familiar are not knowing that. They think UAE is completely a desert outside the town, but actually the Emirate of Fujairah is more than 80% mountains. So we do sometimes have a bit of constraint on the land, but we do a lot of reclamation as well. Going a bit more detailed into the liquid side, our oil department in the port we call FOTT. So it's a department that takes care of the liquid cargoes. As a port, of course, we don't own any products, we don't have any tanks, but we are purely an interface between the ship and the tank terminal. So via a manifold system, and we have two of those. The battery limit is inside the port where we take care from the manifold to the ship and the customer from tank to the manifold, laying their own pipelines. The beauty of having this manifold system as well is not that even the smallest terminals have access to all our 9 oil berths and a VLCC jetty and only pay us when they use it. It also, of course, saved up a lot of capex for them, not having to invest into jetty infrastructure. But as well, it allows to trade between terminals. So a trader in Terminal A can sell to a trader in Terminal B by using our pipeline connectivity. So instead of having to charter a vessel, they can using our interconnectivity lines to transfer these parcels and really again enhancing and boosting this ecosystem. So around 70 million tons of crude and refined products across our own jetties, another 10, 11 million via the intertank transfers we facilitate. But overall, the liquids, because we also have a big footprint of ADNOC, there's also a Vopak terminal that also has some of their own jetties. The liquid market is over about 120 million ton of liquid goes through Fujairah every year, and this is only growing. This is a rather simple overview how the manifold work, and it shows the benefits. You see the different parties active in Fujairah, the different terminals. You might see up the name of JSW Infrastructure. They actually entered Fujairah. Well, they were there on the dry bulk side, but for the first time also in liquid. So they bought an existing oil terminal as part of their portfolio growth. And all these parties, either they in the northern side or the southern side, are connected to the manifold. The manifold, again, is a spaghetti of pipelines and valves, but it allows them to connect to all the berths. And even, except for berth number 1, all the berths can also be split in 2. So we either accommodate a large vessel or 2 small ones. So we have the flexibility there to handle, let's say, we can do 15 simultaneous vessel loading at a time or discharge. So a lot of flexibility, big investment from our side, but it had definitely paid off. We actually now reaching a little bit our maximum in order to maintain proper service levels to our customers. So we are going to expand and build 2 more liquid bulk berths in the coming 2 years. This is to show ADNOC's presence. Of course, the large national oil company, probably all known, has a big footprint as well in Fujairah. First of all, they lay a pipeline from their oil fields in Abu Dhabi, both offshore and onshore, all the way to Fujairah. and storing it initially in the tanks you see in the bottom, onshore terminal, but also this year they have commissioned caverns. So in the mountains again that you saw, ADNOC had digged about 6 tunnels for storing 42 million barrels of crude. And also again plan to even add another 25 millions to that. Of course, it's a very strategic investment. It will also be used commercial, but it is strategic for the country. Again, the location of Fujairah outside the Strait of Hormuz will always remain a hotspot of tension. So to secure, of course, the export of crude, which is one of the big revenue makers, of course, for ADNOC and the country, also supplying into India refineries, it is crucial to have that on the safe side. Going into the dry bulk, again, the mountain's going to play a role here because the mountains are rich of minerals. For basically 2 main products, one is what they call a gabbro, an aggregate, smaller size stone that goes into road constructions, cement industry, and general building equipment. These are mined basically just behind the port. It's 20 kilometers away, more or less. And they are hauled to a stockyard from where we have conveyor belt systems going straight into the port, into the bulk loaders. And we have running this for the last 10, 15 years quite successfully. The peak days were where Qatar was preparing for their World Cup, that we saw, let's say, peak volumes going there. Again, these countries, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, have no natural resources, building material. So they take it all from Fujairah. This is a solid, let's say, second business for us. And that is still growing with projects coming up in Kuwait, and Qatar keeps developing. Also, rocks is more in demand. We heard in the previous panel discussions about reclamation and making breakwaters, and maybe a constraint to find those materials in India. I think we have plenty of mountains to move, which again will create land for us as well. So anyone interested, you can find us. We further expanded this dry bulk business into Dibba. Dibba, basically a small town in the northern part of the Emirate of Fujairah. Again, mountains rich with minerals, and in this case it is limestone. And limestone, of course, is high in demand, mainly for the Indian subcontinent, mainly for India. Basically 3 sectors that we are supplying into, that is the steel industry, soda ash, and cement. Multiple mines, again, 40 kilometers behind the port, similar concept as we had in our main port, where basically the quarries can lease a plot of land from us, short-term, long-term, depending on the nature of their business, for clinker, for limestone, for aggregate. And again, we lay down a conveyor belt system around 4 kilometers straight into to the port. So it works via a hopper system. So as soon as a customer has a ship alongside, our contractor will then tip the material into the hopper where it goes into the conveyor belt straight into to the bulk loader. Very efficient operation. We just started this back in March, so we're still in a bit of a startup phase where we're tweaking the belt to get fully optimized. Basically, this can handle about 15 million tons per annum. That's the capacity. Everything is in place to foundations are in place to double this capacity, to run a second loader and a second conveyor belt. So this is of very interest for the Indian market. A lot of quarries in Fujairah are owned by Indian companies. JSW is one of them, Ready City, Power International. They supplying either into their own group or via to the other steel plants like Tata Steel, ArcelorMittal, etc. So this is a very big market. We meeting with the steel companies directly, so the S producers and everybody we meet this week and before. Everybody's talking about doubling, tripling their capacity, again with the growth of the country, which we discussed earlier this morning. So this is of course a great opportunity for this sport to grow with that. and cater for this high demand of mainly limestone. We've seen this one. Quickly, we also have 300,000 metric ton of grain storage inside the port. Again, a strategic element to it, but also utilized to serve the Northern Emirates, as well as break bulk, make bulk to other countries in the region, mainly Africa. Again, it's run via ship loaders. So to come back on our relationship with Abu Dhabi ports, again, they signed a concession agreement with us in 2017. So for 35 years, they have the right to operate and manage a kilometer of quay wall, where they can cater for these four segments. Again, I keep maybe repeating myself, but it's of course from the Abu Dhabi central government, again, a strategic positioning to have alternatives for container offloading and loading. Currently, it's a niche market because, as you might know, the majority of the containers is handled in Jebel Ali. Of course, DP World is here, and Khalifa Port in Abu Dhabi. But definitely, this has a role to play for niche markets. This is further strengthened by the railroad development. Again, a topic earlier this morning, also in India, I think this is important. The connectivity. This is just commissioned again, actually earlier this year, done by Etihad Rail, connecting all the major ports in the country, Dubai, all the way to Khalifa Port. And eventually this network should be part of a whole GCC network. The UAE is a bit ahead of the other countries, so basically UAE is ready. It's a matter of Oman, Saudi, and the other countries to do that part, and then the whole region is connected by rail. Again, to boost the trade and the connectivity. So this is a very, very important development. And this all then connect to a larger plan, which again involves also the Indian government. Is maybe you have heard about this initiative, the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, which I think started all last year, I believe, the initiative, and is really getting traction. So we recently also had a big delegation from Indian government in Fujairah, discussing this with us, because again, the location of Fujairah make it very attractive to support this corridor from the Indian ports by sea to the UAE, including Fujairah, then by rail all the way to the Mediterranean. That is basically the idea of this project. Recent visits also by UAE government officials to India, as you can see on some of the news reports. They also visited DP World during the same week as they visited Fujairah. So again, we can play a major role here, and again, showing the relationship that UAE and Fujairah has with India. Coming to my final slides, I touched briefly on it already. The service element of Fujairah is very important. We have a large anchorage area, which we try to manage. Actually, the demand sometimes bigger than that we can handle, but because of different states on both sides of the anchorage area, we can't really expand, so we need to be very efficient with what we have. Bunkering, of course, a major service here. But basically all services can be availed in Fujairah. Ship repair also is maybe one of the areas that we still like to develop as well in our port to complement to this service industry. Final slide, perhaps, just to see where, what is our future outlook, where we would like to grow. A lot of growth still in the energy side. Still maybe a little bit in the conventional fuels, but definitely the way forward will be, of course, renewables, future fuels, and that can play, of course, a nice role in our current ecosystem. As you can see on the picture on the right, we can expand our liquid berths up to 21, of course, depending on the size. We can build a second VLCC jetty. So the superstructure is in place. It's a matter of extending the pipelines and buying the topside equipment. So we can quickly scale up. Other than that, of course, the Dibba port, we just started phase 1. Of course, a lot of potential to expand that, perhaps other commodities we can look at. So And then, of course, the environmental aspect is more and more playing a role as well to be sustainable and deal with emissions. So this, I know it's almost lunchtime, so I think I leave it here, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you.